Hello and welcome to Ask a Reporter. This is Jack.
Hello.
I'm Nathan, and welcome back for another season. What are we calling it, a season?
Term?
Term?
Season term.
Season sounds better because it sounds like a TV show, so I'm going to call it season.
It is a TV show.
It's a TV show. We are doing things very differently this term because instead of coming to you via Twitter over Periscope, we are now coming to you on our website, which is very exciting.
It is.
Through YouTube Live, so you can either see us on our website or YouTube Live. And just to show you, this is what we used to be recording it on. Now we have an actual camera, and we can cut to other things. We can show you stories. We can do all sorts of stuff.
We're up with the times.
We are up with the times. We even have this like nifty little layout of all of your questions that we can go to, which is fantastic.
The future is now.
The future is now. And speaking of future now,
yes.
Electric cars. That's what we're talking about this week because Jack, you did a story about the UK banning petrol and diesel cars. Do you want to give us a bit of a summary of what was in there?
Yeah, so it was possibly a month ago now. It was recently. The UK government announced that they're going to be banning petrol and diesel powered cars by 2040. So that means no more car manufacturers are going to be able to make or sell petrol or diesel powered cars. So basically, that means car companies and like people living there are going to have to look for alternatives to fuel their engines. So I looked at, I think the most popular choice at the moment is electric cars. So the story kind of looked at electric cars and what that is and what that's going to mean in the future.
We'll go to your questions in a second, but before we get there, I just want to explain there are two places that you can leave questions for Ask a Reporter now. So you can do it like you did before, which is on Twitter, and we will get those live throughout the broadcast. If you want to submit questions beforehand, though, you can do that on the website. So if you want to ask us something right now, it's got to be on Twitter. If you want to ask it before the session, then please go to our website and you can put it there as well.
Yes.
Right, let's go to our first question, and we'll go to Toby from FCCC. He left this question on our website, and he said, which car company created the first electric vehicle?
Hey Toby, cool question. It wasn't it wasn't really a company because it was back in the 1800s. So it was an inventor who came up with the first electric engine, and I believe that was in like 1828. I do have it written down somewhere. It was a Hungarian inventor, and he came up with the first electric motor, which then kind of inspired a whole bunch of different vehicles that were run using electricity. And then it was in 1884 that the first actual electric car that could be sold and, run around on the roads went into production. And that was by an inventor. His name was Thomas Parker. So it was really, really long time ago. I wasn't even around. Actually, you weren't even around.
Thank you. Thank you. Making me sound old.
So it wasn't, back then, I guess there weren't a lot of major car companies. But yeah, he was the first inventor to get it up and running. And they lasted quite a while, but then eventually faded out.
As petrol and diesel took over.
Yeah.
And that's where we're up to today.
Yeah.
Except
1884 to 2017.
It was that quick. Okay, let's go to our next question. Harrison from Christian College. A Christian College. I'm not sure which one. He didn't put that there. That's okay. We'll just speculate.
Hey, Harrison.
Hi, Harrison. Would the electric car be no good to Australia because you have to wait 30 minutes to charge up? So from Newcastle to Coffs Harbour, you'd probably have to charge it up again, and then go from Newcastle to the Gold Coast if you wanted to do a bit of a road trip.
Yeah.
So is it a bit of a problem in Australia because it's so big?
Yeah, I guess that's a problem that people will face when they take electric cars. Also, shout out to Newcastle because I'm from Newcastle.
Hello.
So it is a bit of a problem that people are trying to work out now. So at the moment, there are quick charging stations which do take about 30 minutes. And in the story, I mentioned that the Queensland government, they're going to be installing power stations all along the highway from the Gold Coast all the way up into Cairns. So they're covering the accessibility of it, so people will be able to drive their cars and charge them at certain points. But yeah, they will have to wait a little bit. I mean, it's better than waiting 2 hours to charge.
Or 10 hours, or 2 days.
Yeah, so 30 minutes, that's longer than filling up petrol.
2 coffees?
Yeah, well...
Stop for a coffee, see the sights.
I've heard that apparently, though, what they're thinking, if electric cars do become more popular and they'll have these charging stations, that petrol stations will have, I guess they already have cafes, but they'll have like cafes, like mini putt-putt golf, cinemas, like they'll... mini, is that just putt-putt
My
golf?
car's filling up.
Yeah, well, no, they will. Like, so you charge it, and then you can go off and play putt-putt, you can go watch a film, you
Genius.
can grab some food. So that's kind of how they'll come over the waiting times, but I guess it will mean that trips are a bit longer. But, you know, technology is always advancing. Soon it could be like, plug in, done. Oh, whoa.
Whoa!
Quick.
That quick.
It could, maybe not that quick, but it could be like, I'm sure they'd be able to cut it down eventually. So...
Get to work on it.
Okay.
Yep. Riley from St Patrick's at Geelong West asks, would electricity be cheaper to run your car than petrol?
Wow. Riley, good question. At the moment, I believe it is cheaper. There are actually, like, I know one of the power charging stations that I visited for the story was in a car park that was in a shopping centre. It was near a shopping centre, but basically that power charging station was free. So you could just plug it in, go and do your shopping, and you wouldn't actually have to pay for the electricity that you're using. But then I have been reading that some cars only cost about like $3 to fully charge. So at home, like if you've got it plugged in, of course at home you'd need to have a special power charging station as well, but it only costs about $3 to fully charge your car, which...
Bargain.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I mean, you guys probably don't drive cars, but it's a lot cheaper.
Have a
than filling
look
up
when your
petrol.
parents fill up the car. Have a look at the price that it says on the
Yes.
Bowser. It's a lot more than $3.
Yeah. So
I'll give you the hot tip.
it is quite cheaper at the moment.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Very good. Jacob from Mr. Matt's class. Hi, Mr. Matt's class.
Hello.
He wants to know, we watched the story about the future petrol car bans. What's going to happen to good cars, like iconic muscle cars like the Shelby Cobra, the Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and the McLaren, my personal favourite. Good
Your
taste
personal
in...
favourite?
No, that's Jacob's personal
Okay.
favourite.
Oh, okay.
All very nice cars, though. I probably would prefer the Shelby out of those ones, but look, I'm old school.
I'm pretty bad with cars. I don't even know.
Do you
what
want a
a
Ferrari
Shelby
or a
is.
Lamborghini?
Well, I know what those two are, so...
They're
guess.
all more expensive than the entire
more
budget of BTN,
Yeah,
so...
than we can afford. Well, they'll all probably get put in a museum of petrol cars. No, I mean, I guess the ban in the UK doesn't mean that you can't have a petrol car. It's just that they won't at the moment. It's like kind of to start phasing them out. So obviously, when 2040 hits, they're not going to just be like, all the cars are going to disappear and there'll no longer be petrol stations. It'll just mean that people will have to start purchasing alternative cars like electric cars. So I guess those cars would still stay around. I'm sure some of them would actually adapt to become electric cars or hybrid cars to start out. So they'll definitely still stay around. And who knows, like by then you might be like, oh, my favorite car is the electric Max 21. I just made that up, but...
Really? The electric Max 21? That's the best you could come up with?
The Speed Racer electric car.
That's why Jack writes stories and doesn't name cars.
Yeah.
They are horrific names.
Yeah. I do own a car.
That is good. But he didn't name it, so that's fine.
No.
Afura, Amy, and Ellison from Mr. Matt's class want to know what kind of poo is used for powering the Poo Car mentioned in this week's story. Jack, did you get to the bottom of that one?
Oh, the bottom of that
Thank
one.
you.
That was very nice.
It's fun.
We had a lot of questions come in about the Poo Car.
Yep.
And probably because I didn't talk about it very much. I kind of skimmed over it. So, I mean, the car doesn't actually take, like, you don't put poo straight into it. That'd be pretty disgusting, and I don't think anyone would ever want to
inconvenient.
buy it. No. Yeah. So, in Queensland, there is a car that they've invented where they take the sewage and they're able to turn that into electricity because of the methane gas that is in our waste. So it's not poo directly going into the car, it's the electricity. I'm so immature, aren't I?
He's a serious
Can't
journalist.
Stop giggling. So it's that gas that comes from our waste that powers the car. And
digging a hole.
There are some already overseas that do it. I heard just recently another reporter was telling me that some people use horse poo. They can turn that into electricity. So it's not because we got a really interesting question about how, could you like flush a toilet and that would go straight into the car? So no, that's not how the Poo Car works. By all means, invent that if you want to, but yeah, it's a bit more complicated and not as smelly.
That is a relief. I think we'll all be glad to hear that. We'll go to Mr. Herd's class now. We've got lots of questions from those guys. Hello, Mr. Herd's class.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us again. Why do we need electric cars instead of petrol cars? That's from Alexandra.
Well, we don't necessarily need electric cars over petrol cars, but petrol cars do release greenhouse gases into the air. So it's bad for like air pollution, and that's a big problem that the UK's had, which is why they're banning them. So it's about kind of just, we're trying to get the UK government is and France, actually I haven't mentioned that yet, but France is doing the same thing. So they're trying to get rid of petrol cars and make the way for other sorts of cars like electric.
And it's worth remembering too, these are two massive countries
Yes.
that buy a lot of cars every year, so it's a big deal.
Yes.
They lead the way in that sort of Europe area, and so therefore those two countries agreeing to this is a massive change, and you wouldn't be surprised if you saw more countries following suit at some point.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. Ella wants to know, do electric cars or petrol cars go the same speed, or does one go slower?
Hello.
Ella is a aspiring racer, probably.
Oh,
I'm
probably.
assuming. Wants to know what to get into.
So which ones go faster? I'm actually not too sure. Maybe we should get I'll get the electric car. You can have your Shelby.
Petrol. Well, yeah, okay.
You can get your Shelby and we'll race them.
Okay. We'll try to do that. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I
think I did read though that electric cars, there was a bit of a debate that electric cars might be slower, but there were some models that could go fast. But again, you should always do the speed limit.
Okay, so from what I know about this, and I have done a little bit of reading on this, electric motors have a lot of torque, which is like the turning power
Torque.
that comes from an engine, not TALK.
Hello.
No, not that.
Hi,
kind of
I'm an
torque.
electric car.
Yes, they talk to you all the time. They have a lot of torque, so they have really, really good acceleration. So they go to, say, whatever the speed limit is, of course, they can get up there very quickly. Whereas petrol engines are slower, but they usually have a better top speed for the size of the engine. Of course, you've got supercars like your McLarens, thank you to Jacob, that can just go very fast no matter what, and you could probably make an electric engine that goes very, very fast too. But it's all about, they produce power in a different way. So I hope that helps.
Again, always do the speed limit when you can drive.
I completely agree with that. Ella H wants to know, how long can electric cars drive before they run out? Is there kind of a rough kind of mile range?
Yeah,
K
so
range?
I think the average is between like 80 Ks to 130. But then I know Tesla, which have a lot of very expensive electric cars, theirs can go for like almost 400 kilometers before they run out of electricity. So it depends. There are quite a few models out of electric cars, and it depends on the type of car and how far it will go. I guess that's the same with petrol cars.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Amy wants to know, charging electric cars would cause a lot of pollution anyway, because obviously we create pollution to create electricity.
Yeah.
So why is putting new electric cars on the road going to help?
Well, I guess it's where you get that electric from. So a lot of people are talking about using solar panels for charging stations. So that's going to be cleaner energy. So if we do introduce things like that, it is going to be a lot cleaner than using petrol. So,
And the other thing you've got to remember too with electric cars, there's no exhaust.
Yes. Oh,
because
that's the biggest thing.
There's no gases coming out of the engine when they light up and fire petrol.
And
or
there's
fossil
no
fuels.
Is that the noise?
Is that how a car sounds?
I
That's
drive
a
a
sick
car.
car.
Again, I have a car. No, well,
You need to get
okay,
that
how
car,
does a car
looked
sound?
at. I don't want to do it now, but
Anyway, there's no
Anyway.
electric cars don't have that like petrol car sound. And I heard that some of them wanted to make like that sound, like put that sound into electric cars so people didn't freak out. Yeah, and they would think, oh, the car's on and it's running fine.
So you'd think it was running okay, but it was basically just like
It was
speakers
just like,
along the side of your car.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird.
It is pretty weird. I guess maybe to get people used to the idea.
Okay.
Because if you got in your car and it didn't make any noise, you'd think, hang on, am I just rolling?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Brandon wants to know, do electric cars have all the same accessories as petrol or diesel cars? Do they have, dare I say, electric windows?
Oh, well, you'd hope so.
You would think so.
You'd hope any modern car had windows. That's a really good question because my first car didn't have cup holders. And I was really frustrated because where do you put your cups?
Understandable.
So, I guess
It doesn't really have anything to do with electric cars.
It doesn't, but it's something important to consider because you've got to think like you've got to have your cup holder. Do you want like a nice sound system? I would dare say most cars these days come with cup holders.
The main thing about it is that if they want people to go to electric cars, they need to make them something that people want to drive.
Make them appealing.
And so that means they need to be able to, drive nicely. They need to have all of the special things that we have in cars now to make them comfortable to sit in and drive.
Have like
it's a very important part.
so you can look at yourself.
The little mirrors that go afterwards.
What are those ones?
I don't know. I've seen them before and they look really cool.
Okay.
I don't know
Well,
why.
if they've got those mirrors,
Just wanted them.
No one wants to wind up.
No. That was when I was a kid. That's how old I am. Grace wants to know, when will Poo Cars be available? When are we going to get them on the market? Grace is keen to buy one.
Aren't we all? I have really no idea. I think what they were doing in Queensland, they were like just testing them out at the moment. I don't know if they've gone into full production.
Or any production.
Yeah, but who knows?
I think it's more of a proof of concept, like a novelty to agree, an experiment, you might say. So if you see Poo Cars on the road, then run it. Well,
no, like
it's probably an experiment. So go, hey, look, there's a
contact us and let us know what it was like. I don't know.
We're mature, aren't we?
Yeah.
Mason wants to know, moving on to something slightly more serious, are there any other types of cars except for poo, electric and petrol?
No, those are the three options. No, there are definitely other types of cars. So there are solar-powered cars that are powered by the sun. Most of those cars look pretty weird though, because they've got like huge solar panels on them, so they look really futuristic. There's cars that run on hydrogen. There's obviously diesel-powered cars. So there's quite a few range. I guess at the moment you'd probably only see petrol, diesel, or electric on the road. Unless you're at some car convention where they were showing off poo-powered cars. Look, I brought it back to that, didn't I?
You did. You keep coming back to that. That's okay. Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Xavier wants to know, would you rather an electric car or an ordinary car? What?
Like me, personally?
Yes, you personally. What goes into that decision for you?
Well, it has to work.
That's a good start.
As you probably learnt from the previous question about the Shelby, I'm not that fussed on cars. I don't know why. But I do like that they get me from A to B, or they get me from home to work. So I would probably, if I had the choice, pick an electric car, only because I know of the benefits for the environment. In saying that, I'd be pretty happy with a bike to ride, but it would, if it's raining, that doesn't really...
Okay, would you pay extra for an electric car over a petrol car?
Ooh. So if I had to go out and buy a car now...
Right now.
How much extra? Because...
$15,000.
Wow.
That seems fair.
I guess, well, you have to think going, and if it costs me less to fill it up, then I'd possibly pick an electric car.
Good. Well, there you go.
Again, it's I don't know.
He's kind of gone, well, maybe yes, maybe no.
I mean, yeah, I guess, or I'd walk.
Well, that's probably a good point, because realistically, I think that's where the industry is now. A lot of people are moving to electric cars, but it's still very, very... Like, if you look out on the road, you're not going to see hardly any electric cars. So it's still very new.
It is.
And it's going to be one of those things that slowly develops over time.
But you know what I could do?
Oh.
I could actually split the diff, and I could get a hybrid car So then I've got electric and petrol.
Oh, so what's a hybrid car then? Can you explain?
Well, that's electric and petrol.
Ooh.
So it uses, well, it doesn't use both at the same time, but it means it can be powered by either electric or petrol. So, and they the electric actually charges when the car is running on petrol. So while you're driving it, it charges up the electric, which is pretty cool. So,
I'm a big fan of that. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Good middle ground. Colin wants to know, why is petrol so popular at this point?
At
obviously.
this point, it just, I guess, back in the 1800s, in the ye olden days, when electric cars first were introduced, eventually people just started going to petrol because they were cheaper to make, they were easier to fill up, they were a lot quicker to fill up, and so they just kind of became the way that's led us to here. But now we're going, well, we might not eventually have that resource forever. Well, we probably won't. So we've got to look at other ways, and that's why we're going back to electric cars.
Cool. Selena from Year 3 CEPS, thank you for
Hello.
joining us again this term for New Ask a Reporter.
Or season.
New season of Ask a Reporter. Why aren't Australia following France and the UK in banning the sale of petrol cars yet?
Well, I'm not too sure. I don't sit in Parliament, and I don't hear these things. But
Not
I
yet.
do know that a lot of state and local governments have been putting in electric charging stations. So they are encouraging people to buy electric cars. They are making it more available and accessible for people to own electric cars. So it's definitely something that I think would be moving towards in the future. But at the moment, it's just France and the UK that have made these big announcements. But again, I think you were saying earlier, they are quite big countries to do this, and a lot of countries could possibly follow this. Yeah.
Connor wants to know, will these cars be cheaper to buy or
Oh.
more expensive than petrol?
Well, at the moment, electric cars are more expensive. There are some really expensive ones that look really nice, which I can't afford. But I guess, as they become more popular and as they become more, you start seeing them everywhere, they will eventually drop down in price. So, and then it's going to be cheaper to refill them anyway, isn't it? So you make your money back.
Absolutely. There you go. Namjot wants to know, what will happen when coal runs out to make electricity? Are there other ways that we can make electricity?
Yes, there's the sun.
Out
There
the
is
window.
wind.
Just wanted to point
Right
where the
out
sun
there.
was, just out there.
There are heaps of ways to make electricity. Coal isn't a problem. As I mentioned, we've got the sun, we've got wind, we've got water. Look, just all the elements.
But at this stage, most of our electricity does come from the sun, from coal in Australia.
Yes.
So that's how technically the cars are powered at this stage.
So it'd be something that the government would look into. And in South Australia, they're building those big battery farms.
Yes, there's a few developments like
Yeah.
that. So anything could happen. The future is good.
Yeah.
Gunbeer wants to know, will we need to pay at the charging stations to recharge our cars?
Well, at the moment, as I mentioned, you don't have to in some charging stations, which is pretty awesome. But again, as they become more popular, I dare say they will start charging you. But from what I've researched, it is quite cheap to charge a electric car. So it should still be cheaper, but I think eventually we will have to pay. I guess, I don't know.
And our last question for today, will our electricity bills increase and be more expensive if we have an electric car?
Well, it would. If I was just to go off the top of my head, I would say yes, because you've got another thing that you're using electricity for at home. So it would be more expensive. But again, as I mentioned, one person was saying that it only cost them $3 on their extra on top of their electricity bill. So it's not really that much in the scheme of things. But you guys don't even have to worry about that at the moment, because I bet no one pays their electricity bills.
Hands up if you pay your electricity bill. No? No takers.
Probably the teachers you've got your hands up.
That's about all the time we have for today. I just want to quickly thank Mr. Hertzclass sent through a photo, which is really cool of them watching us.
Oh, woo!
There you go. Thank you. It is good to be back. They said it's good to be back with Ask a Reporter, and we are very glad to be back too.
Yeah.
So thank you to all of you for joining us on our new platform. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope, I don't know, maybe the picture might be a little bit better or something like that.
There's more space.
More space. We have a corner now.
I have elbow room.
So it's pretty exciting for us too. Next week, Jack will be in the hot seat again, talking about artificial intelligence.
Rainbows.
No, artificial intelligence. We're doing a report this week about artificial intelligence and some of the jobs that artificial intelligence might do for us in the future. You can actually look up on the ABC website to find out if your dream job could be taken by a robot.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll go through some of them. So start thinking of some artificial intelligence questions now. Watch the report next week, and we will see you for more Ask a Reporter next time.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, guys. Good questions. Keep them coming.
Bye.